confirm what I was discussing with the brother Firas, that this Quran is way beyond our imagination and our realization and our awareness when it comes to how much we can get out of it. It's overwhelming, overwhelming guidance. You can really reflect on a verse for a day or for a week, and it can have a big impact on you spiritually, and also even in terms of your thinking and in terms of your behavior and your priorities and the way you conduct your life. It is an amazing book, and we can spend all our life individually trying to dig out the guidance of the Quran, then we'll get only some of it, and humanity will spend until the end and will not get everything out of the Quran. It's this is what need to be taught to our children and to future generations, so that we correct this big mistake about Islam in general and about Quran in particular and our relationship with it. That yes, Quran must be studied even before recitation, before tajweed, before memorization, before listening, must be studied. And everyone can do that with some efforts. If you are serious, you can do it. Alhamdulillah, knowledge now is much more accessible. So you can get a lot on your own. And then once you start searching, I mean, people spend a lot of time shopping to get the best deal. Don't you want to spend similar time searching for a meaning of a verse or a meaning of a passage of the Quran? At the end of the day, it's all excuses that we come up with. It's not that we are busy. It's not that we don't have time. It's something else. It's misconceptions, mindset problems, and it is an issue of priorities. So we are at a very important junction in Surah Al Imran. I mean, all the Quran is loaded, but these verses are, again, I'm saying, I said last time that verses 102, 103, 104 are very foundational, because, and probably some of the most foundational verses, simply because they have a community building recipe or blueprint. Individuals with taqwa, community with unity, and then why all of this is for a mission. These verses encapsulates Islam, the proper definition of Islam. It is commitment to a mission, that's the last verse, that requires individuals to strive to be mindful of Allah as is His due, ittaqullah haqqa tuqatih, and it requires the community to come together, to be united, and of course, unity of purpose, there is unity of leadership that will bring real unity and real brotherhood and sisterhood. And then before that, it is, and in parallel, every individual is striving, and haqqa tuqatihi, it's a huge challenge, because it's not just have some taqwa, it's not have a lot of taqwa, it is having as much taqwa as Allah deserves. Haqqa tuqatihi. And sometimes I mentioned that between haqqa tuqatihi in Surah Al Imran, be mindful of Allah as is His due, and haqqa jihadihi in Surah Al Hajj, and strive for the Allah and His cause as is His due, you get it all. That's it. That's the picture. As a Muslim, your life should be centered around these two things. You are striving to be mindful of Allah as is His due. You are striving to advance and advocate the cause of Allah as is His due. So if you forget many things, remember haqqa tuqatihi and haqqa jihadihi. Of course, the jihad, with the proper meaning, it's striving. It's not, has nothing to do with fighting or violence or anything. Jihad is striving, doing your utmost. So اتقوا الله حق تقاته. These are ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. And strive. أنا لا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. From my understanding, I see it and unlike the superficial meaning, because we think we are all Muslims, so there is we have no problem. No, لا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون, and I understand it because it's coming after حق تقاته, is try to push yourself so that you meet Allah at your peak. يعني ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون, مسلمون with the meaning of total surrendering to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because it came after حق تقاته. Somebody is striving to be mindful of Allah as is his due, so the curve is ascending, and the verse is telling you try to meet Allah at your peak of your performance, not the opposite. So make sure that even if the curve dips a little bit, make sure that you recover quickly. You recover quickly and go back to the ascending, make it ascending again. واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا. The emphasis on unity is amazing. Of course, if people are striving to be mindful of Allah as his due, that's a recipe for unity. And that's a recipe for unity because you have common purpose, unity of purpose. Each one of you is striving to be mindful of Allah as his due. That will make everybody converge. So that by itself will generate unity. But Quran did not to illustrate the importance, critical importance of unity, dedicated a long verse for it and tackle it from all angles. First of all, it's not you are united like together. No, you are all واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا. واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا. So it's a unity that comes after as a result of which one of you holding hold fast to Allah's rope all together. So if each one of you is holding fast to Allah's rope, you find yourself united. واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا. But it still did not to emphasize the importance of unity. Look from how many angles this verse, this long verse, has tackled this concept of unity. Hold fast to Allah's rope all together. And then ولا تفرقوا. ولا تفرقوا. Hold fast to Allah's rope. Do not split into factions. So affirmative and warning us against splitting. And then Allah, to tell you how precious this unity, he made it as a favor from him. It's a blessing. So نعمة واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم إذ كنتم أعداء فألف بين قلوبكم فأصبحتم بنعمته إخوانا وكنتم على شفا حفرة من النار فأنقذكم منها. He made the unity and the Tawheed and Islam, mentioned them at the same time in parallel. You were enemies and Allah joined your hearts. And you were astray and Allah and heading to hellfire or on the brink of hellfire, and Allah saved you. So it's as if he's telling us that's how important it is. Allah, it's a blessing from Allah to guide you and save you from hellfire, and it is blessing from Allah to save you or transform you from enemies to brothers. كذلك يبين الله لكم آياته لعلكم تهتدون. In this way, Allah makes his revelations clear to you so that you may be rightly guided. I don't know how much more can be said about unity other than this. It's linking it to holding to Allah's rope, warning against splitting, making it a blessing, that is mentioned in parallel. And every time Quran does not mention things like that. I mean, everything for a reason. When you see Birrul Walidain mentioned all the time with the Tawheed, that's to elevate it to that level. Yeah. And when you see unity is mentioned with the saving from hellfire, that's similar. So Allah is explain his makes his revelations clear so that you might be rightly guided. Now, why all of this? That will tell you what happened to Muslims. That's why each one is striving to be mindful of Allah as is his due. Meaning, basically, you are striving to fit the prophetic, the prophetic profile, yeah, the profile of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's what it means. حق تقاته means you are striving to be to match the standard. So why everybody is doing this, and then people have to stay united because there is a mission. Because there is a mission that is driving all of this. And that's why the moment Muslims abandoned and neglected their mission, the whole Islamic paradigm collapsed. There is no more need for us to strive. The tazkiyah has fell apart. The unity has fell apart. The leadership fell apart. The whole crumbled. The whole Islamic paradigm crumbled because it is the mission is the foundation, is at the heart of it. It's the engine. Now you have you remove it and everything has crumbled. وَلْتَكُنْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. These are the ones who are successful. I don't know how Muslims don't they read this verse? I mean, people are not involved in any amr ma'ruf wa nahy an munkar or da'wah ila al-khair, and then they think they are successful. But the verse says these are the ones who are successful. Let's go to the verse about unity. Remember Allah's favor to you. You were enemies, and then He brought your hearts together, and you became brothers by His grace. And don't neglect the grace of Allah. That unity is grace, is a bounty. I mean, it's like Allah gives you money. That's a grace or a bounty. You have to appreciate it. Unity is grace from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You were about to fall into a pit of fire and He saved you from it. In this way, Allah makes His revelation clear to you so that you might be rightly guided. Be a community. Be a community. وَلْتَكُنْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةً. It's not like some of you does this job. No. This job is at least fard kifaya. At least amr ma'ruf wa nahy an munkar ad-da'wa ila al-khair. At least fard kifaya. And fard kifaya means it is a duty on everybody until it is fulfilled. When it is fulfilled, then it's fine if you don't do it. But this is one of those fard kifaya that will never be fulfilled. I mean, tell me, when are we going to reach a point where this message of Islam has reached everybody on earth in the proper way, and where there is no more ma'ruf to promote, and there is no more munkar to work against it? This is not going to happen. So even those who say that this is fard kifaya means it's not an obligation on every Muslim. If you think of it practically, it becomes a fard ayn. It becomes a duty on everybody. Why? Because this is something that will never be fulfilled, will never be satisfied completely. You think you're going to reach a point where in this world there is no injustice or there is nothing, there is no wrongdoing, I mean, to try to advocate against it, or there is nothing good that needs to be promoted, or there is nobody who needs an advice or needs to because da'wah al-khair, which I'm going to elaborate on it, and I see it more than the da'wah that we think we know. Da'wah al-khair, be a community that calls for what is good, urges what is right and forbids what is wrong. Those who do this are the successful ones. This is very foundational verses, these, the all three. So be a community. Like, show me a community now, show me a Muslim community who meets this description. Be a community. And that's an instruction from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not optional. It's not be a community. It calls to that which is good. And I think da'wah ila al-khair is much more general than da'wah ila al-Islam. Or you can call any da'wah ila al-khair is da'wah ila al-Islam. Da'wah ila al-khair, call people to that which is good for them in this life or in the hereafter. Any good advice, any knowledge that you share, anything that can help someone in this life or in the hereafter can fall under da'wah ila al-khair. So why we are limiting something that is, why we're restricting something? We don't do with no reason. There is no need for us to restrict. وَلْتَكُنْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ. Muslims should be, wherever they settle, they should be involved in this public education and awareness, whether it is about health, whether it is about anything that can help people in this life and thereafter. You should be there. You should be there calling for it. And then promoting or advocating that which is right. Amr Ma'ruf. You live in a society, there are so many issues that are being debated, so many problems, so many causes, so many, you just measure them, see what Islam has to say about them. And most of the time, you're not gonna get like a clear-cut answer. You're gonna find some guidelines, Islamic guidelines. Within those guidelines, try to develop and come up with the proper stand and advocate it. That's Amr Ma'ruf and Nahy Munkar. You are living in a society, you are a Muslim community in a society, your presence has to be felt. There should be some positive impact on the city and the county and the state and the country in which you are settling, or you are citizen, or you are living. Like in Surah Al-Hajj, الذين إن مكناهم في الأرض أقاموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة وأمروا بالمعروف ونهوا عن المنكر. So this Amr Ma'ruf and Nahy Munkar, we can spend hours and hours on it, because that's our defining mission. It's the raison d'être, the reason for the existence of the Muslim community is to do this. Be a community. That's why when we stopped doing this, we were unable to build a real community. All what we were able to build, even in this country, when we have the freedom to do it and the autonomy, we managed to build some sort of fraternity. People who come to the masjid, pray together, they get to know each other a little bit, but they're not bound by any common mission or any leadership. Even what we call leadership in the mosque, they are not leadership. They're more managers, khatib, imams, administrators, but there is no leadership. I strongly recommend, again, these verses to be, if we pick some foundational verses of Quran, put them like in a booklet or something, this should be, should make the top list, or the short list of the top foundational verses, because it says it all. It's a package. It tells you that this deen is about that mission for which individuals have to be built or have to develop themselves, and for which community has to be built. You drop the mission, everything else will collapse automatically and instantly. And then coming back to the unity, وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ تَفَرَّقُوا وَاخْتَلَفُوا مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَهُمْ بَيِّنَاتٌ وَأُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. Warning again against unity, because basically no unity, no mission, no success in the mission, and no mission, no unity. It's really very much connected in both directions. Do not be like those who, after they have been given clear revelation, split into factions and fall into disputes. A terrible punishment awaits such people. So it's very serious. So encouraging you to be united, discouraging you from this, telling you why you need to be united, how to be united by اعتصموا بحبل الله, hold tied to the Allah's rope, striving to be mindful of Allah as is due, that will bring you to unity. Then tells you why you need to be united, because you have a humongous mission to fulfill. And now it's warning you against because ولا تنازعوا فتفشلوا وتذهب ريحكم, as we're gonna see later. That's very I mean, you are a community who's gonna stand for a huge or gonna carry a huge mission, which is expected to meet humongous opposition and resistance. And you want to do it with weak individuals and community that is not united. And we're fooling ourselves. Literally, we're fooling ourselves if we think this can be done. That this humongous mission can be carried with people who are weak, individuals who are weak, and with a community that is weakly, loosely connected. Yeah, it's not going to happen. It's the tazkiyah, the unity, and the leadership. If these are not there, and the leadership model, as we'll see, the prophetic model was really reinforced in the Battle of Uhud that will be covered in this surah. So this is the package. Without tazkiyah, without unity, without leadership, this mission cannot be fulfilled efficiently. Now we cut it short and we went all the way, we dropped the mission. So we made it easy, everything collapsed. And we got the Islam of convenience. The Islam of convenience that is on the side. It does not paint all your life and thinking. You did not embrace it as a mission. You embrace as something that is as an add-on. And it's still doing everything the way, but you added a couple of tasks that you fitted in your life. While Islam is supposed to transform all your life and make it a mission-driven life. That now I have a cause, I have a mission, I have a purpose, and that should impact everything. The way I think, the way I plan, the way I prioritize, the way I spend my time, the way I spend my money, the way everything is going to be characterized or governed by that top or governing priority. يوم تبيض وجوه وتسود وجوه فأما الذين اسودت وجوههم أكفرتم بعد إيمانكم فذوقوا العذاب بما كنتم تكفرون وأما الذين ابيضت وجوههم ففي رحمة الله هم فيها خالدون. That's a scene from the Day of Judgment. It's again, we're going to see this later, inshallah, how integrated and intertwined this deen. It's amazing. And Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he said, إن هذا الدين متين فأوغلوا فيه برفق, يعني it's so connected. يعني always there is an injection of tawheed, a scene from the Day of Judgment, so that you can, it's like the platform or the vehicle, to make it easy on you to absorb or to understand the guidance and the instructions. So there is always the vehicle and there is the message. In Quran, you have to read the verses, but try to extract the message because it's not always obvious. So the scenes of the Day of Judgment are always meant to get you more attentive and to take things much more seriously. So this is again scene of the Day of Judgment. On the day when some faces brighten and others darken, it will be said to those with darkened faces, how could you reject your faith after believing? Taste the torment for doing so. But those with the brightened face will be in Allah's grace, there to remain. Again, a very clear scene from the Day of Judgment. That's to emphasize individual responsibility. It's فذوقوا العذاب بما كنتم تكفرون. It's not has nothing to do with any other factor. There are no privileges in Islam. It's everything has to be earned. تلك آيات الله نتلوها عليك بالحق وما الله يريد ظلما للعالمين. So after the verses, just to conclude or to reinforce that these are Allah's revelations. We recite them to you, Prophet, with the truth. Allah does not will injustice for his creatures. So a lot of time this happens when it is a strong scene from the day of judgment. Either Allah's mercy or Allah's justice is, we are reminded of Allah's mercy and Allah's justice so that we become much more comfortable. That yes, punishment is severe, but Allah is just and merciful. And justice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us more comfortable, and his mercy should not be abused. His mercy, keep in mind, the mercy of Allah and forgiveness are invitation for you to come back, not a license to sin. They are always invitation for you so that you don't fall in despair. وَإِنِّي لَغَفَّارٌ لِمَنْ تَابَ وَآمَنَ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا ثُمَّ اهْتَدَى. وَإِنِّي لَغَفَّارٌ لِمَنْ تَابَ وَآمَنَ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا ثُمَّ اهْتَدَى. Yani it's not because we hear this all the time. You know it, I know, we all know this. Allah Ghafur Rahim. And people are really taking it as license to sin. It's okay. Why you're doing this? Allah Ghafur Rahim. Why you're not doing that? Allah Ghafur Rahim. No. It's the other way around. It's an invitation. When you go wrong, you go astray, you remember that Allah is forgiving and merciful, and that's an invitation for you to come back. As we'll see, Allah praises, Quran praises those who come back after committing a sin. It doesn't mean that encouraging us or telling us it's okay to make a sin. This is after the fact. After it happened, you remember. But before that, it's the resistance. Before that, even the resistance, before that, you are preoccupied and busy with a big mission. That really is the best protection, will not leave a lot of time for you to think about sins. And then there is the breaks and the resistance that Allah is watching and that you feel ashamed. And then there is a fear of punishment. There are so many defense lines or lines of defense that if everything fails and you fall short or you commit a sin, then you remember that Allah is Ghafur Rahim and you come back. وَمَا اللَّهُ يُرِيدُ ظُلْمًا لِلْعَالَمِينَ. So again, I mean, the emphasis that a lot of time Allah's justice or Allah's mercy is mentioned after or reinforced after the scenes from the day of judgment. وَلِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَإِلَى اللَّهِ تُرْجَعُ الْأُمُورِ. By the way, these are all injections of Tawheed. Allah yuridu dhulman lil alameen. It's another way to say Allah is His justice is absolute. He does not even want injustice to people. Not only he doesn't do injustice. Allah yuridu, which is a very much higher level. Allah yuridu dhulman lil alameen. It's not like committing it. It just does not want it. وَلِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَإِلَى اللَّهِ تُرْجَعُ الْأُمُورِ. Very concentrated verse of Tawheed. It's a short, but it has encapsulates that to Allah belongs everything in the heavens and earth belongs to Allah. It is to Him that all things return. And everything belongs to Him, and to Him everything returns. That's it. Summarize it all. Everything belongs to Him. وَلِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. Make sure that this try to remind yourself of this all the time, that everything belongs to Allah, and you never think that anybody has any power on of his own or owns anything. And nobody, it's all belongs to Allah. And then everything will return to Allah. So everything belongs to Allah, and وإلى الله ترجع الأمور. Again, Quran is a book of Tawheed. Quran is meant to establish, maintain, and reinforce a very vibrant and very strong relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to illustrate your mission and your purpose of creation in life, and to prepare you for that. To prepare you for that, the mission and the goals, to illustrate and to make you, help you understand what is your mission, what did you commit yourself to, what is your mission, and what are the goals, the overarching goals, what's the purpose of Allah that you committed yourself to fulfill. When you came to Islam, you dedicated yourself, you pledged and committed to dedicate your life and yourself to fulfill the purpose of Allah. So you better understand it. And to understand the purpose of Allah, you have to know Allah. It's a package. Knowing Allah will lead you to loving Allah, gives you all the energy that you need in the world. There is nothing that give you more energy than love, much more than anything else. Of course, with the love, gratitude, and the reverence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the whole aspects, all the aspects of the relationship. So that's one. Knowing Allah, knowing His purpose or understanding His purpose, which is your mission. That's what you committed yourself to become instruments of the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and advocates of His cause. And if the people who will execute His plan, so you better understand it. So understanding the mission and the goals, and then prepare you as individuals and as a community for that mission. That's why I said those three verses are very foundational, because they have all three. It's getting to know Allah and building that relationship. It's a book of Tawheed, mission and maqasid, and tazkiyah, and tazkiyah of individual and community building and leadership, etc. All of this is the preparation. So three major axis, if you will. It's the Tawheed and your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, haqqa tuqatihi, that summarizes it all. You commit yourself, so I'm going to dedicate my life so that I get to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala every day more, I get closer to Him, and my relationship with Him will be well maintained and well reinforced and strengthened, etc. That's one track I'm working on, and the Quran is one of the best tools for that, in addition to the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in addition to understanding this universe, creation of Allah, and then understanding my mission and its goals, understand them very well in this context, and because this mission is, yes, it's a universal and generic, but it has to be contextualized. And the maqasid of Islam also have to be contextualized. Understand that very well, which requires me to understand my reality, because to fulfill my mission and achieve those goals, I have to be engaged, and I have to be civically engaged, and to be effectively, to do that effectively, I have to be civically aware. So that's the other package. And then myself, self-development, community building, leadership, unity, brotherhood, etc. All of this is mentorship. It's the third track. That's what the Quran is all about. You always find verses either on this track, the first track, or the second, or the third. That's why those three verses, they had it all. طيب, we get to another verse that is very foundational. كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس. Unfortunately, many Muslims stopped here. تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. Every word in this verse is loaded. You are the best community singled out or sent for people. You order what is right, forbid what is wrong, and you believe in Allah. It's basically saying because you do this, and you are the best community, not because of who you are, but because of this job, if you do it. كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس. I said many Muslims, they stop here. Actually, many Muslims stop in خير أمة حتى أخرجت للناس, they don't get to it. So كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس. That's the second segment. تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. That's the third segment. Best community sent to humanity. You're not a self-serving community. This meaning applies to messengers and prophets. أخرجت للناس. أخرجت للناس applies to messengers and prophets because they are sent to humanity. Allah, this Quran, this verse is telling us that you were sent to humanity. And if it is okay for every community to be focusing on its own needs and interests, it's not okay for you. Because then you are sent to humanity. So it has that meaning. You are sent to serve. You are sent to guide. You were sent to be the role models. You were sent to lead by example. But by what you do for people. And I link this verse to the verse in Surah Al-Baqarah. وكذلك جعلناكم أمة وسطا لتكونوا شهداء على الناس. This is verse كذلك جعلناكم أمة وسطا. I should memorize the number of these verses. Okay, it's verse 143. ويكون الرسول عليكم شهيدا لتكونوا شهداء على الناس ويكون الرسول عليكم شهيدا. In that verse, it makes it clear that your role among humanity should be similar to the role of prophets amongst you. And if you want to summarize the role of the prophet amongst you, was one, role model. قد كان لكم في رسول الله أسوة حسنة. Second, mercy to humanity. So it should be mercy to humanity. And third, he was your leader. You should be in the leading position. Of course, you earn it. It's not like you force yourself on people. You earn it. You earn it, but by what you do to humanity, by being very distinguished, you earn that position of leadership. That verse establishes a connection between the two, between your role among جعلناكم أمة وسطا لتكونوا شهداء على الناس ويكون الرسول عليكم شهيدا. It cannot be more clear than that, by the way. It cannot be more explicit than that. كونوا شهداء على الناس ويكون الرسول عليكم شهيدا. أمة model community who is supposed to be among humanity, playing the same role as the prophet amongst you. Now comes here, كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس. It's a similar, very similar. أخرجت, sent in your community, who are أخرجت للناس. يعني you exist to do these things. It's like the prophet who dedicated himself to and his life to the cause and to his people, embodying the guidance, teaching, advice, يزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتابة والحكمة. And I see, first of all, immediately after خير أمة أخرجت للناس. خير أمة by itself can lead you to in a very dangerous route. Yeah. Then you become the chosen people. Then you feel that you are better than others. Then you become arrogant. and then there is nothing you need to do. You are better than others by nature, يعني, by birth. No, immediately comes أخرجت للناس, and then comes why, what makes you the best community, and I can see the wisdom, and there is a reason why putting that mission even before Iman. تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن, rushing the reason what makes you better community or the best of community even before mentioning Iman. And that's the balagha of the Quran. It's because to say that that's what makes you special, not anything else. Before you go far, that's what makes you special. So if you stop doing this, then you lose that status. And then to tell us that the Iman that does not produce this outcome, it's questionable. At least it is questionable. So when it tells you the product or the outcome first, and then tells you about the Iman, basically, if your Iman did not produce this product, first of all, if this outcome is not there, then the first status is lost. If you are not in the business of serving and guiding and leading and being a role model, then the status is lost. And if you don't stand and promote everything that is good and forbid and advocate against anything that is wrong in society, you are a difference maker, and your presence is felt. You Muslim community settled in a neighborhood or a city or a county, your presence is felt. You make your presence felt by the positive impact that you do. A blessing. You have to be blessing to that neighborhood and blessing to that city and to that county and to that state and to humanity. And then this outcome that makes you special people and special to serve, not to be arrogant, that outcome tells you about how authentic and genuine your Iman is. Because if you have an Iman that is not producing Amr Ma'ruf wa Nahy Munkar, then maybe you have that Iman of convenience, or as it is called in Surah Al-Hujurat, Islam al-Arab. So we're going to stop here unless we have managed to get more time, but I'm going to stop here and see if you have any questions or comments. We did not even reach the beginning of Surah of Battle of Uhud, but there is no point to rush, and we're not under any pressure. We try to dig out as much as possible of the guidance of this of these verses. All right, and until we have a question, I'm going to continue to finish the verse. ولو آمن أهل, just give me a second. ولو آمن أهل الكتاب لكان خيرا لهم منهم المؤمنون وأكثرهم الفاسقون. Just to finish the verse. If the people of the book has also believed, it would have been better for them. For although some of them do believe, most of them are law breakers. The reason because this is a thought that I probably did not have before, just came to mind, that this ummah that is the best community, it's not a race or ethnicity. It says that if the people of the book and they believe, they become part of that best community. So it's a community that is made based on a mission and beliefs. It's not it's not a community that is made on any other factor, which is new, completely new in that society, especially in the world at that time. All of it was tribal and ethnically divided and racial, etc. And here comes the religion, say that there is a community that is to be built around the mission, and it is open for everybody. Anybody can join that community. So it's not like Muslims who were born in a Muslim country, so they have a special, no. Wherever you're born, whatever, doesn't mean nothing. You embrace this mission and this beliefs, you are part of that community. Yeah, that's the point just I want to make. Go ahead.
Thank you. Shukran for the great reminder. Jazakallah khairan. My comment is on تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر. I think the misunderstanding sometimes comes whereby majority of Muslims, we have the mentality that al-ma'ruf is halal and haram. So you find a lot of imams, at least I'll say in maybe America and Europe, there is a broader understanding of al-ma'ruf in terms of engagement with community. But when you look at majority of other places and imams, al-ma'ruf is always in the khutbahs, in the lectures, is just talking about same thing, you know, halal and haram, about Jannah, about hell, about, you know, we don't engage on matters that are affecting us and how we can be of solution, and, you know, this having broader and more effective understanding of our mission. So I strongly believe that the misunderstanding comes from knowing what al-ma'ruf is. And then, yeah, that's my comment.
It's go ahead.
No, it's okay.
Okay, it is, first of all, the misunderstanding comes from the fact that I can be a good Muslim without doing any of this, which is the fact that Islam, that we thought, or we were raised thinking that I can be a good Muslim even while I'm passive. Yani while being passive and minding my own business, and I'm just going to be a good Muslim. Actually, at certain point in time, it was preferred. That's the profile of the ideal Muslim, is the one who is really not interacting with anybody and not interacting with totally isolated, totally disengaged. So we were raised to believe that's the profile of taqwa. Yeah. So that's the problem. And then comes the point that you mentioned, which is that even if those who want to be involved in Amr Ma'ruf and Nahy Munkar, they think that Amr Ma'ruf and Nahy Munkar, meaning that the halal and haram, it's like the way it used to be done in Saudi Arabia, going in the street and pushing people to go to pray, or harassing women if they don't have the full hijab or hijab, or that's so totally ridiculous. Yeah. That's not Amr Ma'ruf and Nahy Munkar. That's actually probably it's the opposite. Yeah. That's pushing people away from Islam. That's a very ridiculous way to do it. Amr Ma'ruf and Nahy Munkar, it's simply Ma'ruf comes from Urf also. Anything that is good, beneficial for people in this life or in the hereafter is Ma'ruf. Because Islam does not come to cancel everything in the culture of people and then transform them to become, give them a different culture. That's the Islam that we are promoting. The Islam that we are promoting, unfortunately, it's mixed with the culture, and we are selling the package. We're selling it as one package. So to become a good Muslim, you find yourself having to be also an Arab, or as a Pakistani, or etc. in your behavior, in your dress, the way you dress. It doesn't have nothing to do. It's Islam comes to a society or any context, it finds some good elements in that society. Just put its stamp on them. For example, people are very punctual in this country. That's a very Islamic behavior. People are honest, much more honest than many Muslim societies. That's a good Islamic behavior, good Islamic character. People take care of their life is much more planned and much more better managed, and that's good. If you become a Muslim, doesn't mean that you have to abandon all of this and take the whole package that we have. No. So Islam comes, finds some things that are good in that society and put its stamp on it. Like it came find the Arabs at that time braves. It didn't say that you have to become coward. They find them to be generous. So put its stamp, change the intention. Because the Arabs at that time used to fight for show off, bravery, and tribal sentiment and drives. No, now you are doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So changing the intention, putting stamp on something, maybe changing the intention. If there are things that are wrong or excesses, Islam try to work to eliminate them. That's nahy anil munkar. So amr bil ma'ruf, either preserving anything that is good in that society or promoting anything good that is missing. Nahy anil munkar, anything that is wrong in that society or in excess, you advocate against it. So two problems we have. We have the first problem is our understanding that amr ma'ruf and nahy munkar is optional, and they can be very good Muslim without being engaged in it or involved, which is totally wrong. And the second, we think that ma'ruf means fiqh. We take it from fiqh perspective. So it becomes advocating and promoting halal and against haram. Yes, there is strong connection between anything that is beneficial and halal, and anything that is harmful and haram, because Allah does not forbid anything except that is harmful for people. But still, we have to realize, to take it in a broader perception or understanding, that which is good. It's like da'wa ila al-khair, amr bil ma'ruf, nahi anil munkar. For example, the US Constitution has a lot of great provisions. Defending the Constitution becomes amr bil ma'ruf. Defending the Constitution against someone who wanna mess up with those fundamental rights becomes nahy anil munkar. So it is something that has to be contextualized. It's gonna take different format, different forms and different shapes from one context to another. But overall, it's making things better, making that society more peaceful, more secure, more prosperous, more just, more virtuous. So that's what it comes down to.
Dr. Suhail, I have a different question, or maybe related to it. There's a sister, she asked in the group that she has an organization that is advocating for end of child marriage, and unfortunately she's been facing a lot of attacks and criticism from the Muslim community, who are saying that she's acting against the Sunnah of Prophet, because he married Sayyidina Aisha when she was 6. So she said, like, try to explain that the context of the time of Prophet and our time is different, but the society is not really convinced, and it's been very hard for her. So what's the effective way of...
every call for change always is met with resistance. I need to know more details about what she's doing and the organization and what kind of obstacles she's facing. But overall, everybody who takes on a cause and they have to be ready for that. They have to be expect resistance, expect oppositions, expect everything. And we have in the life of Rasul a good model and example. It's no call for change in history that was not met with resistance and opposition. So she has to understand that you don't choose your reality, you choose how to deal with it. If she's doing this in a community or a context that is giving her a hard time, well, a couple of things. One, she has to expect that and be prepared for that. And second, she has to be wise, not to be dragged to any side issues, and therefore focus on your mission and focus on your purpose. And then if anyone wants to understand or want to discuss or have different opinion, they are more than welcome. If someone is going to get involved in only accusations and then just ignore them and move on. Yeah. But again, these are very general statement and advices, short of knowing the details of the organization and the problems that she is facing.
Okay, I'll give her your contacts.
Sure. Inshallah.
But is it true it's against the Sunnah? I mean,
No, there is nothing against Sunnah. First of all, the Aisha thing story is not authentic. I don't know why people made a big issue out of it. And even though there are some studies that refuted the fact that Rasul married Aisha when she was 9 or whatever. But some Muslims, unfortunately, because they have this idea that any hadith in Bukhari has to be justified, or in Muslim or in Sahih. So they go out of their way and try to explain these things. Unnecessarily, these are very side issues. There are very solid studies that proved or showed that was not the case. And whether and I'm more comfortable with that, much more. And regardless of the studies of history and the true and the facts, there is a social norm and there is science. There is science that Quran was never meant to violate or to confront or to come against scientific findings. People, they either go and revisit because it's not true that Aisha was married was when she was a child, and or they want to forget about that issue completely, and then go with the because إنما المصلحة فتم شرع الله. Now today we have young people who get married in their 20s and in their 30s, and the marriage falls apart quickly. There is not enough maturity. Do they want us to discuss child marriage? Wallahi, ridiculous. And people have nothing better to do. And we have people nowadays in their 20s and 30s, and sometimes they're not mature enough because they don't know what they do in life, and then and they don't do it right, this premarital things, and then the marriage will fall apart quickly. And do you want somebody who's still a teenager and it's ridiculous. We shouldn't even think about it.
شكرا جزاك الله خير.
Sure. Any other questions? So verses 102 to 104 and verse 110, the beginning at least of 110, are really very foundational verses when it comes to building the framework. Because what we need is building the Muslim mindset, the framework. It's basically the CPU. Because nowadays, when we talk about Islamic knowledge, we're talking in terms of memory. That this person memorizes a lot of hadith, this person memorizes a lot of fatwa, this person memorize. That's not knowledge. Knowledge is the ability to process information. So knowledge is the CPU, not the memory. It's the processor. And that's what I try to do all the time. And that's what we should be doing, which is build the framework, especially in either children or newly converted Muslims, is build the Islamic framework so that they cannot be fooled, so that things will remain in perspective, foundational, different than contextual. But if we bombard them with verses like this and with the Islamic concept, then the only thing they can do is to memorize, even if they are confused, and things will not be sorted out, and we create a mess. These verses help building that framework, especially the 102 to 104. The framework is, this is a community that is meant, this Islam is a mission for which individuals and community are prepared through tazkiyah, taqwa, and through community building and unity and leadership, etc. Even though the leadership is not mentioned explicitly, but can you imagine unity without leadership? No. So as you can see, we spend our session and we're really not going deep enough on few verses every week. That's the nature of this Quran. I hope we realize how much we have been missing and how much Muslims are missing, and I hope that we try to fix this major problem, starting from the definition of Islam itself, entering Islam from the proper door. And then once you enter that way with that commitment and with that pledge, then you're going to find yourself have to embark on that lifelong journey of studying the Quran, which will direct you also to study the world and the universe and etc. Because Quran is not meant to be a replacement for all of these things. It's the spiritual guidance, and it is build that framework, etc. But also it's encouraging you to contemplate and reflect and read and learn about anything that can be useful for you in this life and in the hereafter. And then with this, in the same way, or with the same thing applies to the Prophet ﷺ. His life, his personality has to be studied the right way, because we do the Quran the wrong way by just focusing on quantity and reciting if we do it. And then when it comes to the Sirah, we turn into stories and of battles. A lot of books of Sirah, you find chapter 1 is battle of, I don't know, I mean, at certain point, chapter battle of Badr, battle of Uhud, battle, etc., as if Rasul ﷺ did nothing but fighting. Even though some researchers established that all the time that Rasul ﷺ spent fighting was probably can be counted by the days or by hours. And they were all in self-defense. So I don't know how it was turned upside down, became like someone who's fighting all the time and someone who's attacking, which is totally wrong. So same emphasis has to be on, or similar emphasis has to be on the life of Rasul ﷺ and his personality, because if we're taking Quran as a guidance, that's what you should be doing. If we're taking the Prophet as a role model, that's what we should be doing. So that we can be consistent with ourselves and stop fooling ourselves. That the Quran is our guidance, but we're neglecting it completely. The Prophet is our role model, but we have no clue about his personality or his life, or because we don't worship Allah, but our knowledge of Allah is very limited. That disconnect is bad, and has to be mended and has to be fixed so that we become very there is a harmony and consistent with ourselves, and consistency between what we say and what we do. All right, if there are no more questions, so we'll leave it there, and we'll see you inshallah next Sunday. جزاكم الله خيرا.
جزاك الله خير.
السلام عليكم.